Hello everyone, so here we are in my challenge of 31 days living the life. The goal that I set for myself was 31 days of video blogs or video journaling. Really doesn't mean it's going to be every single day for 31 days, but I wanted to capture a 31-day timeline of what's going on as a new mom and just as Xander grows, documenting his growth and watching a baby come to life and discover himself and the world around him. So one of the first things I really wanted to talk about is something important to me that I wanted to share with everyone else, but also just kind of process for myself of how it's been, because we've done something that's kind of a big deal, something I didn't think I would actually do, that's changed my life as a mom and changed Xander's life as a baby. So we did some sleep training and sleep coaching. Now, before you turn the video off or kind of freak out, there's a lot of controversy with methods of sleep training. A lot of people say, like, oh, it's way too early to sleep train before, X months old. Like, say, like, before 6 months old is too young. Xander's only 2 months old, and right before he turned 2 months old, he started to show some signs that he just really was ready to be sleep coached. And what I mean by that is, when I would be rocking him to sleep, or he'd get really fussy and I knew he'd been awake for about 2 hours, which at this age, that's the timeline that you're supposed to kind of watch for. So every 2 hours they are supposed to take a nap, only be awake for a maximum of 2 hours at a time, and that changes as they grow, and there's charts for that you can look up. But for him, he would get really fussy at 2 hours, and I just knew he was tired. He would be doing the slow blinking. I was doing everything I could to soothe him, and he would just be fighting sleep. And you new moms out there know what I mean when a baby or a child fights sleep. It's usually when they're awake for too long. They get super fussy, they're slow blinking, and they'll sometimes even fall asleep for like 60 seconds and then just bounce up and kind of jolt themselves awake. And my sisters and I would joke that actually he would have this fear of missing out, and he was a social bug, and that's why he didn't want to stay asleep. Well, a lot of it, actually, that I was reading, babies do this when they're overstimulated. So it could be anything simple as too much eye contact at the time that they're ready to nap. It could be that their room is too bright. It could be that there's too much noise going on, like around the time that they're ready to fall asleep. So babies are stimulated so easily, and it can really interrupt their sleep cycle. So I did a ton of research, and I really discovered that what Xander was showing me was that he was ready to be kind of sleep coach. And what I mean by that was I helped him discover ways he could soothe himself to sleep, or soothe himself as he's relaxing and getting ready to nap. So it doesn't mean that I did the cry it out method, where I would, which cry it out method, there's so many different kinds. Cry it out method is not one method. There's like 10 subcategories underneath that. So I suggest you do your research on that as well, which I did, and I discovered the one that worked best for me. So I helped coach him. I really studied my baby and watched what worked for him, what didn't work, and what he was trying to do as a newborn who only has, well, 2-month-old, who only has so much control of his own limbs and his surrounding around him. So I really tried to stick to the same routine. I did the same thing every nap and every bedtime, which was a suggestion I read about, and as well as from my sister, who really told me it worked for her. So our routine was I would really cut down on stimulation before his nap time or bedtime, and then we would go into a dark room, and if it was generally my bedroom is where he's been napping for now. If it was time for him to nurse, I would sit in the rocking chair and nurse him, but I wouldn't let him fall asleep nursing because I didn't want to create that habit. He'd been doing that as an infant, and that was okay, but now that he was really needing structured naps, I didn't let him do that. So I would either break the latch and kind of wake him up a little bit and soothe him in my arms and then lay him down, or I would just not allow him to fall asleep. And he does this thing where he like kind of latches and then comes off, and latches and comes off, and kind of gets fidgety in my arms when he's really tired when he's nursing. And it just means that he's ready to just fall asleep right then. So I really recognized that. So I would watch how that was happening, and then I would take him off, unlatch him really, and kind of soothe him against my chest and bounce him. And then I would wait till he was really calm and slow blinking, and actually lay him down by himself. Now, Xander sleeps better on his stomach That's a whole other thing that I could get into. He sleeps way better, way longer, and is a lot more comfortable. Babies under the age of like 3 months have that reflex where they like jolt their arms. So, after 10 minutes of sleeping, something, in his sleep or his just reflexes, because he doesn't have control yet of his muscles, would jolt him. So he would end up like with his hands straight up and just like it would wake him up. So I found that sleeping on his stomach, because he hated swaddling, was better. So I would lay him on his stomach, and he would kind of fuss and turn around. And at first he did cry right away when I would put him down, so I would just stay with him and pat his back, soothe him, shush him, talk to him, and just make sure he knew I was right there. If he didn't stop crying right away, I'd actually pick him back up and comfort him and like get him back to relaxation and try again and lay him down. Now it worked right away for me, because I think he was just really ready for sleep. He would get to the point where he was so tired that it just worked for him. And I think just everyone has a different temperament. All babies are different, and this worked for him. So I would just do that consistently, and really just keeping the same routine and the same thing, same surroundings for him, helped him get comfortable with going to sleep on his own. And I would really watch for cues of what worked for him. So he would find his thumb or his hands, he was sucking on his knuckles, and I would make sure I just laid him down in the same spot and would say the same things to him. I'd give him a kiss on the head, talking quietly, let him know, okay, I'll be here when you wake up, I love you, those kinds of things, and I'd walk out. I always listened to his cries and really studied those, and each baby's different, so I really knew when he was getting stressed out and when he was just kind of like trying to fidget and get comfortable, and I never let him really escalate to getting stressed. I just don't think that worked for me and for him. It was too stressful for me to stand outside the room and listen to my baby cry. And for him as well, I just don't think it was comfortable for him. He wasn't going to fall asleep like that. So this I found worked for him, was just comforting him, helping him find his love for sleep, really helping him discover how to soothe himself into sleep while laying alone and not being on me. Now I also started doing this because I was having a hard time wanting to really start back into my normal life a little bit, as far as routine and what I was doing in the day. And I was wearing him constantly. I have an ergo wrap, or like a swaddle wrap that I would wear him, and he would not sleep unless he was being worn, which was okay because I love him and I really wanted to comfort him and show him I would give him what he needs. But I also had this need where I didn't want Xander to be the center of everything for me and for my husband. We felt it was important to kind of get back into some things that make sense as a new mom and having a baby, get back into some things that just kind of helped our life function the way it used to before. My husband's full-time working, and it just needed to happen where I wasn't holding him 24/7. Some people do. Some people hold their babies for 6 months to a year, 24/7, and I have nothing against it. But for me and my lifestyle, I really needed to be able to have some independence a little bit from him, and I really wanted him to be comfortable being on his own, playing on his own a little bit. And he was showing me he was ready for that, because I would set him down in one of his entertaining chairs or rocking chairs, or I have a little like mama chair over there, Mama Roo. He likes that. And so I started sleep training because I needed that. I needed him to sleep on his own. It's really hard for you new moms out there. Let me know if you've been through this. It's hard to feel that confliction where you love your baby and you're loving being a new mom, and you want to hold them and you want them to sleep, but holding a baby for 3 hours straight kind of constricts you from doing things. And I do sometimes still hold him during a nap, or half of a nap, because I cherish this time and won't have it back again. But it's conflicting because you want to be able to do things and have your hands free and feel like you can get things done, or read a book, or organize your closet or something, and it's hard when you literally get to a point where you're holding them in a position where you don't even have your hands. So you're kind of trapped. You feel like trapped, but you're like, oh, I shouldn't feel this way because I'm so in love with my baby. Totally normal thoughts to have. Like, every mom has them that I've talked to. So I found comfort in discovering what worked for me. So I know I'm task driven, and I needed to be able to complete tasks throughout the day to kind of feel like I'm getting somewhere, or just that I've accomplished something. And that makes me just feel better as a woman, as a mom, and as a wife, to be able to kind of complete some things or do something that helps the function of our household and with our marriage. So sleep training, sleep coaching, loved it. It's going so great. It took, I think, 5 days before he actually would put himself, the first time was 5 days after I started, he would put himself to sleep, meaning I still went through the same routine, still comforted him. We went into a room, closed the door, lights were off. I kind of sang to him for a little bit and then laid him down, and he didn't cry at all. I went straight to sleep, slept for 2 hours. So that only took 5 days. And by that I mean, like, each day was better and better, and he was still napping each time, but it just took less time each day to go through the process where I comforted him and soothed him and would go out of the room for a couple minutes at a time. I never went out for more than like 6 minutes at a time if he was still awake and fussing. So I would lay him down, go out for about a minute, kind of assess where he's at by listening to him, go back in, shush him, tell him I'm still there, comfort him, go back out for 3 minutes, kind of increase it each time, and that worked really good for him. The first time we did it only took, I think it was 18 minutes total. Now, he wasn't crying for 18 minutes straight. It was just 18 minutes before he was asleep. So it was kind of every 5 minutes I'd go back in there, or 3 to 5 minutes, go in, kind of soothe him, help him out. And he would stop when I was in there, and then I would go back out, and it only took 18 minutes. So that was awesome. So I really have done so much research, and I have some really cool resources for sleep training, how to discover what works best for you and your baby, because there's so many different kinds, and you don't have to sleep coach to the point where you're like letting him cry it out and you're doing it for a week straight. What I did was for a couple weeks prior to actually sleep training, where I was so consistent with the 5 minutes at a time, I was doing the sleep coaching, which is kind of getting to know your baby's sleep patterns, kind of soothing them and helping them. And he was sleeping on me sometimes, he was sleeping next to me, or I was holding him sleeping, different things for a couple weeks before actually strictly sleep training and sticking to the same thing to help him sleep on his own. So I suggest doing that. If you want some resources, there's also a really cool Facebook page that I joined that actually was the biggest encouragement for me, and that is called Respectful Sleep Training. You actually have to ask to be part of that group. So they kind of background check you, for lack of a better term. They check out your Facebook, and it's a really cool page. There's lots of good resources, lots of moms out there that give their advice and their testimonies, what worked for them. I'm on there. I often share what worked for me. I often check up on other moms that I know were doing the same thing with sleep training with their babies around the same age as mine. I got a lot of backlash actually for sleep training, not from that page, but from different sources. When I would say that I'm sleep training my 2-month-old, a lot of people were like, oh, he's way too young to be sleep trained, like, don't even sleep train your baby till they're crawling. But I really discovered through a lot of research and other testimonies that waiting till they're moving or rolling over is harder, because they've already created sleep habits that are hard to break. At 2 months old, you're able to really help them form habits of sleep and help them love sleep before they're aware of their own bodies. So before they can roll over or stand up or crawl and kind of wake themselves up so much in their crib or wherever you have them sleep. So I think it was a perfect time for me, and my baby loved it. Like, he's so much happier as a baby. When he wakes up, I hear him like kind of cooing, and he does these little noises, and I go in there and he's smiling, whereas before he would wake up like screaming, or if it was in my arms, he'd all of a sudden like wake up like so upset. He just wasn't sleeping solid. He wasn't getting quality sleep, and now he is. His body is waking him up when he needs to wake up, and he's happier when he is awake for the 2 hours in between his naps that he's awake. We talk, he's trying to mimic noises and watch my mouth move and talk, and I just think it worked miracles for me and for him. I'm happier because I know when he goes to sleep that he's staying asleep, whereas before he was not staying asleep. he'd sometimes wake up after 10 minutes and I wouldn't get him back to sleep for like another 2 hours. Now he sleeps for like a minimum of an hour. Right now he's asleep. It's 11:30 and he's been in the morning. He's been sleeping since 9 o'clock. So he goes down for his first nap at 9. Sometimes he wakes up at 10:30. Sometimes he sleeps longer because it's 11:30 and he's still asleep. Thank God. I'm loving this. I'm really proud of myself for doing it. I'm proud of the moms around me who are doing it. It's challenging because the first 2 days are stressful. You're like thinking, am I doing this right? My baby's crying and I'm allowing it to happen. But just find people around you who are doing it. Read some of my posts. Read some of my research that I've done. Encourage yourself. Have affirmations you tell yourself when you walk out of the room and you hear them start to fuss. Have affirmations. I had some things I would tell myself. I kept myself busy while he was, trying to help himself fall asleep. I would say, okay, I have a task, I'm going to go do it. Sometimes I would be like, I'm just going to do my hair, because I would give myself 5 minutes to do my hair, and I'd go back in and check on him. As also listening to make sure he wasn't like screaming and getting really upset. So I would do that. I also would have affirmations like, this is good for my baby, this is good for me, it's better than the alternative, I'm happy I'm doing this, this is good for my baby. I'm helping him learn to love sleep. That's the most important thing. You really are giving your baby a life skill that is going to benefit them the rest of their life and benefit you as a mom, especially if you're having more children after this, which I hope to. You're going to be able to do it again, and you're going to have a baby that sleeps great. He sleeps through noise. It's just all around so much better. I hear him waking up on the monitor. So if you guys have any more questions about sleep training or my journey, let me know. See you guys soon. Thank you.